Good morning. Good evening. Welcome to Sunday Night Live. And um, I guess we're here. Let me put on what's app. Yeah. Okay. So welcome to Sunday Night Live. What's it? Gotta stay right in the middle there. Here we go. All right. Cool. And we're on WhatsApp as well. Excellent. Okay. Cool. And if you're in the U.S., it's Sunday Night Live. If you're in Canada, it's Sunday Night Live. And if you're anywhere else, well, you're in Europe or Africa, it's in the middle of the night. But absolutely, we're going to start either this week or the following week having a Zoom for members on our Saturday here, which about 4 p.m., which will be mornings for Europe. So it should be able to accommodate everybody who can't make it usually to our Zooms. Because as you all know, we have a membership. We have 3 membership groups, right? The CFC group, the Parasite group, and the Health and Healing group. And so each group has a certain number of Zooms that we have. We have Zoom meetings, private Zoom meetings where we all talk. I answer questions until I can't talk anymore. And then we usually go over a topic that that's relevant to that particular group. And then there's also Darren and Vanessa are available on Tuesdays for kinesiology, movement, for nutrition, for yoga, all other things related to lifestyle that we really urgently need to change in our lives. And then, of course, there's all the written material and webinars and all that are on there. But it's definitely worth getting involved because we get to interact. So this morning, what we're going to do this evening, I'm sorry, it's evening for most of you. What we're going to do is we're going to spend like the first, guess hour and a half answering the questions that have been sent in. That we have a list here, and then we'll spend the rest of the half looking at some questions that are coming up because I'm changing the format a little bit. Okay, so and as you know, we're on all social medias, and it's only X and how was it? What? Everybody loves it. What's it called? Oh, TikTok. It's only X and TikTok. With that, it's at Dr. Thomas Lodi MD. The rest are like Instagram and Facebook and all that are at Dr. Thomas Lodi, Dr. Thomas Lodi. Okay. And let's find the questions. Questions here. I guess this is it. Yeah, here we go. All right. So anyway, please follow, like, follow, share this live stream and subscribe to our channel. Okay, this is Marina. Stomach bug. What's the best remedy for a 5-year-old who has a stomach bug? He's been throwing up for 2 days, not eating, sipping water with electrolytes and coconut water only. Is Emetrol a good choice for kids? Well, Marina, let's see. This was, I don't know when you submitted this, but I hopefully took care of, this is resolved somewhat by now. So he's a 5-year-old kid. He's throwing up. So stomach bug, that's what in our culture we've learned to use that expression because the implication is that we have some sort of virus in our stomach making us throw up. And it's interesting that has become kind of like a reflex, a patellar reflex, like it's just a knee jerk reflex to say that we have a something caused it, right? Something produced this condition, and it's a thing, and it's called, we would call it a virus and all that. So, but really, that's not it. I mean, but immediately though, what you need to do is help this, is get him to stop throwing up, and make, and the worst thing that I can see happening is he's going to get extremely dehydrated, and and with have electrolyte imbalances and things like that. So sir, I don't know when you sent this in, but I certainly hope if this has been resolved somewhat, because if he's just sipping water with electrolytes and coconut, I mean that's good, but then if he's throwing up, it's not staying. So it's you know it's that's not good. So anyway, uh, you've got to look at, if he hasn't resolved this by now, you need to go to, unfortunately, to either an emergency room or an urgent care center, and get some IV fluids, because it's a potentially fatal situation if you can't keep well hydrated and have electrolytes. So you've got to, hopefully you've taken care of that by now. I'm assuming this is resolved because I have no idea when you set this in. Um, um, anyway, so um, he's been doing that for 2 days when you sent this in. Anyway, yeah, you can give him some, you can give him, you know, medicine for nausea, but the main thing is to keep him well hydrated. So if he's that sick, obviously something happened. A lot of times it's the food we ate. I'd say most of the time it's the food we ate. Something was in the food that has caused this. And So you got to look at your family. Did anybody else eat similar food? Is anybody else sick, or did he eat something different? So, because you need to, if you can find the source, but you got to get him hydrated. And I hope you're on, so, and you can let me know if you did. I mean, um, if everything's okay. Uh, anyway, uh, now Emmetrol. I don't even think I've ever heard of Emmetrol. Um, Looks like it's for adults, for overindulgence. Um, yeah, but as I said, if he's like violently throwing up, then that's even worse. But I'm sure you've resolved this by now. There's no way you would not have resolved this by now. So um, let's see if we can see if you're even on today. Are you on? No, I don't see anybody who's he has that question. I just hope the situation resolved, because a little boy 5 years old, or a little boy or girl, can't could, you know throw up too much, because they're going to get extremely dehydrated. Okay. Um, yeah, but you could, but I would, get them hydrated first, but that in and of itself might help a lot of things. But that's the main thing until whatever happened passed. And the only way you can discover that, it's not like they're going to do tests and say, oh, it was this. There's no way to do that. But you need to talk amongst each other at home and find out who, you know, what he might have had differently, or any of that. So please, Marina, let us know here if you've resolved this. Uh, yeah. Okay. So here's Jacqueline, and the topic is Lyme disease. Any advice regarding patient had Lyme arthritis, 40 years, damage to back, feet, knees, and shoulders that are very painful. Yeah. Well, um, you know, one thing that I always uh, need to understand, and you should also be concerned about this, is we're calling this Lyme's disease. we're using the word disease. So the implication is that there is this. Uh, there's an infection by an organism that's uh, anyway. That's we call it limes and all that, and that's causing all this problem. And I've just, I always question that. No matter what it is, whenever we're talking about what we consider infectious diseases, problems, you have to question that, because the truth is the germ theory was just a theory, and it never really was proven, but it became dogma, and it morphed into the disease model and the disease theory, and now everyone is running away from diseases like they're out there. There's over there in that step I saw some diabetes, there's hypertension under that rock, to be careful. There's no that whole idea is a Rockefeller idea. But anyway, whether or not there is, you know, uh, an organism that has gotten into you and is causing this, that's never been proven. Okay, so but anyway, so I guess you must have had blood tests, and they did antibody tests, and they said you had Lyme's, and it's just arthritis. So you've got damage to back, feet, knees, shoulders that are very painful. So do you know? So when you say damage, have you looked at X-rays? So when you say your back, you're talking about your vertebra, right? Your vertebra, and the kind of damage in there is what the bones are. You said arthritis means the in between the joints, in between the bones are joints, and so arthro refers to joints, and itis is inflammation. So you're saying you have inflammation uh, in the disc spaces between the vertebra, and in your shoulders, back, and feet and knees. Huh. All right. So those are large joints. So there's no small joints involved. There's only large joints involved. Yeah. So the my advice is, first of all, I would stop calling it, attributing it to some organism, unless you really are absolutely convinced. But anyway, the point is you've got inflammation of your joints, and I'm sure that's not the only place you have inflammation, because we don't just have um, things going on in one place of our body, unless there's something locally happening. So if there's damage or trauma to a certain area, that's it. But usually, if we've got like like an arthritis or whatever, it's going on system wide, right? So it's just like if you have someone who has a heart attack because they've got plugged up arteries. It's not just that artery. All the arteries in the body are damaged, just are undergoing the same process. Okay, so um, this inflammation is system wide, and specifically you're feeling it in the joint. So what you have to do is eliminate the cause of the inflammation. What's the cause of the inflammation? So you're attributing it to this organism, Lyme, but let's just look at life in general. We're all pretty much inflamed, and we're inflamed because now, what is inflammation? There's acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. Now, acute inflammation is also known as healing. You damage something, gets red hot, painful, and swollen, and that means you have increased blood flow and drainage. The blood's leaving quickly as well, and it's delivering nutrients as well as inflammatory cells that are going to clean up the process and repair it and heal it. All right, so that's what acute inflammation is. But when the assault, whatever that assault is, continues, then it turns into a chronic inflammation. So chronic inflammation does it's not a it requires inflammation is a response. Okay, so it's responding to something. So there's something, or many things that are causing chronic irritation to your body, and you're feeling it mostly in these large joints. So what do we look at? We look at, first of all, our diet, because we know that um, there was a study done at the St. Louis University in Washington. I mean, in where was that? St. Louis in. Where's St. Louis University? Anyway, at St. Louis University, I forget where that is. Anyway, where they uh, he looked at people that eat uncooked food. Most of them 20, 30 years. The least was 3.5 years uncooked vegan food, and the rest of the people, the other cohort, had all were eating just normal food, and looked at all different blood parameters and bone mineral and all that. What he found was Luigi Fontana, MD, PhD. Um, uh, it was Washington University in St. Louis. There you go. I'm sorry. So and so what I really what really struck me was that they had their bone density. Their bones were actually thinner but stronger, more dense, less likely to fracture. And all of them across the board had almost undetectable CRPs, which is a C-reactive protein, which is an indication of total body inflammation, meaning they weren't getting inflamed. And the reason for that is there are many other things, but I just wanted to bring up that point. But the reason for that is that when you subject food to fire, you chemically change it, and it now becomes something. Now like a tomato is a natural substance, and our body would recognize it. But once you've turned it into tomato sauce, it's no longer a natural substance. It's been changed chemically. It's actually a different chemical, um, and which causes it. So it's unnatural, and it causes an inflammatory response. So if you're eating continually uncooked food, you're going to have a continued uh, total systemic inflammation. And then on top of it, if you're being exposed to, um, all the toxins that we're exposed to, naturally there's going to be a total body inflammation. And then, of course, we've got now the new uh, addition to the electromagnetic uh, onslaught poison that we've been experiencing since around 1900. The newest additions are the 5Gs and now 6G. So all of that's going to lead to inflammation. So what do you need to do? You need to, first of all, what can you control? If you're unless you're able to move, you probably can't control your exposure to the 5G and all that sort of thing. But if you're in an area that is, look up on a 5G map. If you're in an area that's really full of it, then you probably need to somehow move. Um, but other than that, so we could look at lifestyle. So we look at diet. What it could be, you have to look at your diet, and I hope you know that what you got to eat. You got to do a cleanse first of all, and you got to clean out your body. So I would do a really prolonged juice cleanse. Like 3, 6 weeks. Believe me, you'll be surprised. By the end of that, by the end of that 6 weeks, I'd be shocked if you had any pain. Yeah, just it goes away. Um, and then look at whatever other exposures you may be subject to. Depending on your lifestyle. Um, but it's obviously chronic, and it's got your large joints. And I'm wondering that what else is happening with you. You must have other other illnesses or related um, adaptations. So remember one thing: everything the body's doing, and that we would call symptoms, other than breathing and all that, that we would call symptoms, is in response to. We have to always remember that, and it's in response to what? And it's 99% of the time, it's our lifestyle. It's what we're eating. It's the way we're not going to sleep. It's our, whether it's you know the environment, the air we're breathing, and the food we're drinking, the water we're drinking, clothes. There's all those causes of inflammation. So really, you've got to cleanse. Absolutely got to cleanse. Now, in terms of taking anti-inflammatories, if you're eating a healthy diet, you'll be getting vegetables and you know with uh, with phytonutrients and all the carotenoids, all the tocotrienols, tocopherols, the whole array of the B vitamins that come in with food. Um, and you'll be getting all this, and you'll be having good bowel movements. You get get some colon hydrotherapy, like 2 a week for maybe 4 5 weeks, and then once a week for 4 or 5 weeks, and then every other week. But keep it up, keep your colon clean, because in there, what's in it, what we don't realize is that the colon is full of feces, and in most people, what we find is that there's some feces, and then there's gas, and then there's feces, and then there's gas, and in varying uh, proportions. And so even when they go get a colonic, when the water goes in and it hits the feces, the person goes, oh, and then the therapist lets it out, and not really anything comes out, and then they think, well, I really don't need a colonic. Well, yeah, you do. So you have to find a therapist who knows how to do it correctly, and that means you've got to sit there, and it's got to go in there very, very, very slowly, and warm. And then when it hits that spot, you have to kind of relax. She stops uh, the flow for a second, and it'll relax and go through, and then you can put in some more. And you want to get that first fill as far as you can, and then when you finally let that out, it'll be a tremendous relief, and then you'll be able to get up further. But um, we're all, unless you're having a 5 foot bowel movement every day, then you're full, because that's how big our colon is, right? And not many people I know are having 5 foot bowel movements. So that's a big deal. Moving around is a big deal, because it stimulates an anti-inflammatory response, because of the inflammation from the movement, the muscle contraction and all that. Something went wrong. Uh, anyway, now in terms of substances, there's boswellia, which is frankincense. There's ginger. There's curcumin. Um, these are powerful anti-inflammatories. You want to make sure you're taking adequate amounts of vitamin C, which is about 8 grams a day, and you're going to have to. The only way you can really do that is with the liposomal sodium ascorbate. You can take 2 grams 4 times a day, um, and uh, and then you want to make sure you're getting all the mixed carotenoids, right? Not just beta carotene for you, but vitamin A. So if you're eating a good healthy diet, you'll be getting that. But if you just want to, at this point, to get past this critical situation for you, you can get mixed carotenoids, from many different companies are making that. The same with the vitamin E's, which are tocopherols and tocotrienols. And then you want to get with maybe the mixture of them, but at one time a day, and the other time a day, get just tocotrienols, okay? Because there's a lot of studies showing that in and of them, that alone has a tremendous value. Now, all of these that we're talking about, the vitamin C's, the carotenoids, and the tocotrienols and tocopherols, are anti-inflammatory, basically antioxidants, which is anti-inflammatory. And and then and your vitamin D, melatonin, you got just all of that. We've all got to do the same thing. We've got to just restore balance and eliminate any deficiencies and get rid of any excesses. And that's what it comes down to. And then we have to live a life that is going to minimize our exposure to these things. We're going to go to sleep early, and you start doing all these things, and you find out that your body really works great, and you're not going to be having all these problems. But the problem is, what we know Rockefeller successfully did is he got us off track. They made up this thing called diseases. There's no such thing as a disease. I mean, somebody give me an explanation, and don't say dis-ease. I mean, come on. What? Can anybody define a disease? What's a disease? I know. Let me see. Pinky, Kiana, you're very welcome. Yeah, yeah. I'm happy to be here. I want to hear who. Anybody have a definition of a disease? So did he? So you're saying those are diseases: lupus, hemolytic anemia, perimenopause? Is that what you're saying? That's those. But what's the definition of a disease? Anybody have definition of a disease? How about on Instagram? Any definitions of disease? A definition of a disease. What's a disease? Come on. We got diseases, right? Everyone's got. We watch out for those diseases. Well, the body won't work as intended. Okay, but you know, I mean, that's not it because you. I mean, you break your leg. Um, there's a lot of things that could have happened, so that we have to have a little more specific. What because the idea of a disease is what you get a disease and you've got to get rid of it to be healthy, right? Isn't that an incurable thing? A thing. What is the thing? We got to know what this thing is. We got to. It's an attack of a foreign entity in your body. Okay, well that there you go. That's pretty much the Rockefeller. That's what they got us believing. So high blood pressure is something that got into me, and I've got to get rid of it. A diabetes got into me, and I got to get rid of it. Right? Doesn't make sense. The disease is where you die, and there's no cure. Well, but no, we're not getting. I'm not getting a definition of what it is. What is it? Is it not? It's not me, right? Genetic mutation. You mean we are that genetically impaired that something in your body isn't working the way it should. All right, so everyone is pointing to something, not us, that gets into us, and if we don't get rid of it, we're in trouble, right? So it's something is causing it. So you realize when you have that idea, and there's something that's causing it, there's only one thing you can do, and that's have a military operation. You've got to get rid of this thing. But you're saying this is a condition, it's a thing. What thing? And it got into you. So I go down the street and I catch high blood pressure. I catch diabetes. I catch a stroke. Disease doesn't say anything. A malfunction of the body. Why? Why is it malfunctioning? Just well, I think if you keep trying and you sat down and you spent all day, you really couldn't come up with you couldn't come up with the definition because there's no such thing. If I'm eating pasta, bread, potato, rice, cake every day, I got a lot of glucose in my system. My body is going to reflexly become insulin resistant to protect my body from myself because I don't not very smart. So that insulin resistance is an adaptive response to what the body's being exposed to by me opening my mouth too frequently and putting stuff in it. So now, I go to the House of Horrors and meet one of the witches or warlocks, and they say, "You have a disease. It's called diabetes, and you need these things to combat it. These drugs, these drugs and shots and all that to combat it." So I do that, let's say at the age of 20. At the age of 40, I still have it. And I'm still taking drugs and stuff. So I haven't done it. It's still there. It. Wouldn't it make more sense? Stop eating the bread, pasta, rice, cake, and that, so that there's no excess glucose. So my body does not have to does not have to adapt that way, does not have to get insulin resistant. It won't be necessary. That's what I'm saying. We need to make sure that the adaptation that we're calling a disease is not necessary. It's an adaptation. High blood pressure is an adaptation. All these things are adaptations and failed adaptations because we're not, we get overwhelmed, So if, because of diet and lifestyle, your arteries continue to get plugged. You're going to wind up strokes and heart attacks and things like that. It's not you. Heart disease runs in the family. Well, no, diet runs in the family. I promise everybody in your family could have strokes and heart attacks. And if you're eating a healthy diet, you can't get it. Can't get it. because there's no it. It's a body's response. So we have to understand that, because until we understand this, we're going to be asking these questions not only every Sunday, but every Monday through Saturday as well. We'll never get we'll never be satisfied with the proper answer, because there is no thing that comes into us, right? It's our body responding to its environment, and its environment is not 100% up to us, right? But whatever we have in our environment that we can control, um, we need to do that. And by the way, that'll be enough. That'll be enough, and that means what you eat when you go to sleep, and drink, all that sort of thing. Your movement, your relationships with people, your relationships with yourself in terms of stress. There's a lot of things that we need to do that if we change that, we won't be sick. Okay, there's no thing, and the idea of thinking there's a thing, you're off track now. Now you're saying it's irrelevant, really, what I do, because I got to get this thing. I'm going to get this thing, and I got to go to the pharmacy to get my weapons, right? Or and if I can't, I got to go to the doctor, because he or she is going to tell me which weapons I need to get rid of this thing. Do you realize the madness in this? There is no thing. Diabetes doesn't run in families. Diets run in families, right? There's very few genetic uh, uh, I can't use the word diseases, but genetic problems like that. 5% of the population has mutations, problems, and we don't see them. They're in institutions. They can't really survive without a lot of support. They can't, and they can't. Um, so we don't see them. We see some of the high functioning Down syndrome, but that's about it. But that's a mutation. And it doesn't matter what you do with that person, whatever the diet and everything you change, they're still going to have Down syndrome. When you trisomy 21, they're still going to have that. That's a mutation. So, and they're born with it, but there are very few of those. So the rest of us don't have that. And when they say you have a predisposition, what? Is there a predisposition gene? I've never seen a predisposition gene. So remember something. What your body's doing, that we're calling a symptom, is in response to something, but that means it has the capability of doing it. So, for example, to become insulin resistant. So, I have the ability to become insulin resistant in case there's too much glucose. So, in that sense, you can say, well, he's got genetic predisposition to get diabetes, right? If you're going to call it, but if I stop, please understand. I hope you can see that there's no third party that's getting into us. It's all us. And the reason we need to point the finger back at ourselves is so that we can finally take care of ourselves. All right. And not go to some guy who doesn't know anything about health. I mean, the doctors don't learn health. They, uh, they, it's worse than nothing. What doctors are taught in medical school about nutrition. Right. If they learn nothing, then that's better. But what they learn is wrong, and they only get like what is a half a unit? It's like one course, maybe one 6-week course in 4 years. On what? On what the American Dietetics Association, the ADA, what they're talking about with food pyramids and all that absurd stuff. Yeah, it's madness. And they learn a little bit about it, but that has nothing to do with nutrition. Nothing. And there's no courses in medical school for health. Health is not on the menu. They don't talk about it. They don't. So here's the thing. What do they learn about? What's the big book? The big book. What's the Bible in medical school? The Bible is Robinson Cotrans, The Pathological Basis of Disease. That's it. 90% of medical students worldwide have read this book. That's the Bible. And then you Goodman and Gilman's pharmacological basis of therapeutics, whatever it's called. Pharmacology. Yeah. Uh, It's all these same books. We get Grey's Anatomy. So we get the same education. So believe me, if you go to this guy, that and that girl, and that girl, you're not going to get different opinions. You're going to get the same thing because they all have the same database. They're all talking about the same thing. That's it. You know, and they've all got, and therefore they've got the same answers. And the answer is they're going to give you some sort of poison to make you feel better. You so this is what happened. And it happened when? It started around, in earnest, it started around 1903. Um, when the General Education Board was formed by Rocky and the gang. They took over the education of America, and then they went on in 1910 after the Flexner Report to enforce that, and they took over medical education. And they brought in this idea of diseases, which morphed from the germ theory, right? And so here we are. Here we are. Look at here we are, 100 years later. And every time we're wrong, it's that I think something got into me, and I got to get rid of it. So there's a military. It's a military operation. So we're all at war with these unknown things. Does it sound familiar? Does it sound like 2020 to you with the Great Hoax? Then we got the really big one. Oh, I mean, little one. It was so little, no one ever saw it. Did you ever see a COVID? Yeah. I saw a few on that table, but no. Okay, so there we were. What are we doing? The whole world went into hiding over something that was never even found. So this is master, beyond master. What are we going to call this? This level of sorcery, this level of dominance and control, and all that is, I don't know. It's satanic. But that was a four-dimensional chess game, and the fourth dimension is time. That John Davison Rockefeller challenged America, the world with, right? And four-dimensional chessboard means you do this, then this, then. So all the pieces were set in motion, and in 2020, checkmate, 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 checkmate. All we're going to do now is monitor the end. When a game is when the end of a game is known, you stop, right? No one ever makes the last move in checkmate. It's checkmate. In bridge, in any of these games, once you know the outcome, it's over. You don't finish it. So why are we going down the road? Because we don't know it's over. We don't even know we're at war. Ah, yeah. Yeah, but the American dog may get to, I don't think 20 hours, unless they've changed it, of nutrition. But it's not nutrition. They don't get nutrition. They don't understand nutrition. They don't understand nutrition. They don't understand nutrition. I'm telling you, they don't know. Anyway, I hope you understand that there's no such thing as a disease. This causes disease. You got to think. I know you're not. You're reflexly thinking. So instead of that, when we're all done, you sit down and see if you can, um, uh, in earnest, try to come up with a definition. You'll see that there is none. Okay, it's very, very important because we need to now, instead of getting enemies that we're going to fight, we need to change us, and then we'll have relief, and we'll actually can enjoy something called health. And what is health? Anybody know what health is? Anyway, without wasting more time, health is the optimal functioning of the organism. And an organism can only optimally function if it's having all of its biological needs satisfied. All of its biological, and with us humans, it's not only biological but psychological needs satisfied. All right, because we will adapt to biological. We're not getting needs met, and when I say not getting your biological needs met, you either a deficiency, you're not getting some nutrient that you need. It could be oxygen or whatever. You're not getting it. So it's deficiency, or it's an excess. You're getting too much of something, or it's a toxin. That's it, and it's the combination thereof. right? So so we've got to restore that balance. And what happens? Those excesses, deficiencies, or toxins, what do? They cause an imbalance, right? And the body, in order to survive, there's something called homeostasis. The body, uh, inv- uh, there are the different levels. There's biomechanical homeostasis. There's a physiological, and then there's biochemical. There's different levels and kinds of um, uh, homeostatic corrective responses that the body makes in order to maintain balance, which is functional integrity. But optimal functioning, you're getting everything you need, and you're. But psychologically, if it's the same thing. If psychologically you're being, um, you know, you're not getting love and appreciation and recognition. You're not getting those things, and we need them. You're gonna have a you're gonna have some sort of psychological adaptation, character uh, involving your character. Um, or you're getting that's a deprivation. You could be getting excess of something, and you could be getting toxic. There's toxic relation. There's toxic. There's toxic psychological toxins. Mm. So all that stuff. Okay, so that's where health comes in. Um, all right. I was going to wait a while to answer this question, but let me just say answer this question. Well, Dr. Lloyd, do you recommend going to emergency room for a severe case of lymphedema of the breast with infection? It sounds, yes, that sounds like it. If you have a severe case of lymphedema of the breast with infection, it sounds like you probably had breast surgery, had your lymph nodes removed, um, uh, and that's why you're even calling it lymphedema, because you've been told, and the infection is in the breast or in your armpit, or so. Yeah, and especially, what that just means is that, um, because of the lymphedema, which sounds like you have, the lymphedema is basically causing a stagnation. There's no blood flow, and remember, flow is health. Things need to flow. Our blood needs to flow. Our lymphatics need to flow. It's the flow that keeps them healthy, because when they go along their way, they drain, they get refilled. That's it. Just like you're going to drink water from a flowing river, you're not going to drink water from a pond, right? So when things are flowing, there's life and health. So you got to get that flow. And so, of course, if you've got a severe case of lymphedema and and things aren't flowing, there's going to be areas that are going to be, the tissues will not be getting enough oxygen. They could die. It's called necrotic, and it's going to be colonized by microorganisms. Remember, microorganisms don't cause these problems. They're there to clean up the mess. That's their job, is to clean up. So yeah, absolutely. I would. It sounds like you need to do that, and that's where you go. There are also urgent care centers, but I don't know how it works now in the U.S. anymore. But and if you have a doctor, you can maybe call them. So the reason I'm hesitating with the emergency room is that there's usually, uh, it's a horrible experience. You have to wait a long time. You wind up going there and waiting a long time, and that just adds to frustration. And it's really, really, unless you can find an emergency room somewhere like a small hospital that doesn't have a lot of people waiting. Otherwise, and they're going to triage. I mean, they're going to take people that they've decided are sicker than you, and so. But yeah, um, absolutely, absolutely, sounds like, yeah. So anyway, uh, so Jacqueline, you've got to change a lot of things to eliminate all the sources of inflammation. And then, by the way, there's a product, that I think is very good. I have no connection with any product, so if I tell you something, it's because either I use it or I recommend it. It's called Bosmeric, Bosmeric, and it's a combination of ginger, curcumin, and boswellia, and pepperine. In pepper, that just does this. It enhances absorption, because like curcumin, you can only absorb 3% of what you ingest. So, but anyway, um, it's a great product because it's the doctor that designed it, um, he gets his good the raw materials are good are sourced, high quality, and he's got all of them in the right proportions, but they work very nicely as an anti-inflammatory. But remember, eating uncooked food is an anti. Why does the picture keep moving? That's weird. Is it this? I don't know. Huh. Anyway, and then again, and once you start change your diet and all that, and you start moving again too, because movement is going to help to heal uh, that inflammation, right? It does because you're using those inflammatory cytokines for you know, for the processes of movement, right? Because movement is going to cause these minor damages that are not damages; they're just kind of wear and tear, but they get stronger. I mean, that's how what they say. No pain, no gain. What they mean by that is when you're working out and you have muscle pain, that means you're breaking down muscle, but then you're going to build it back up. And it's the same sort of thing. If we've got all this inflammatory cytokines going around, and we're not moving around, it's going to be painful. But you start moving, and they will be used as part of the process of movement, and they won't be in excess causing pain. It's very helpful. There's so many things you can do. Okay. Here's one. The name is D, and what could be causing armpit and rib cage discomfort for 2 to 3 years? Well, assuming you're meaning like an armpit and rib on the same side, and discomfort. Well, um, neurologically, we've got a lot of nerves in our armpit that come down through the cervical spine, the neck, um, and they go down the right arm, um, and then into the body. There's a minor contribution down to the nerve. So I'm not sure what's happening. It sounds like you probably are. When you say discomfort, I don't know if you mean like it's bone or is it like paresthesias where you have tingling and numbness, or is it like a chronic low level pain? It's hard to know, but is it on the skin or is it deep inside? So, but basically, neurologically and blood circulation, they're not really connected in that way. They are in minor ways, but they're not contiguous. Whereas it would be this way and that way. So I'm thinking you're being exposed. I mean, I have no idea. I'd have to talk to you and examine you to understand what's happening. It's probably uh, you know nerve related. Sounds like it's nerve related, but I don't know. I'm sorry. Um, this is Becky. Alternative CFCs. By the way, for all of you that may be new, CFCs, chronically fermenting cells, are what Rockefeller refers to as cancer. Oh, and we know cancer has no meaning other than its astrological meaning. It has a meaning. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Um, has no meaning. Shoe has meaning. Garage has meaning. Words, most words provide information. They give you information. Cancer gives you no information. So it's not a word. It's not a useful word. It's just a fear tactic. So we call it chronically fermenting cells because that's what it is. Okay. So alternative CFC therapies. My 57-year-old stepdaughter who had a kidney transplant 5 years ago was just diagnosed with stage 4 large B cell lymphoma from her rejection medication. She believes in alternative medicine, but because she lost her job a year ago, she cannot afford it. She has gone to New York to get free chemotherapy. Do you know of any alternative therapies she could try on her own that might help cure the lymphoma and kill the cancer stem cells that she knows chemotherapy will not do? You're very welcome, Becky. So, first of all, we have to change our language with this whole thing because Remember, our language is how we think. That's how we think. And this language is Rockefeller, and it's wrong. It's talking about false things, and so we're already on the in a mythological place. I'll explain it in a minute. But being in a mythological place that they've created in this story, um, um, and it's not reality. There's no way out. There's no way you can't resolve it because it's not real anyway. And it leads to the morgue. It leads to the morgue. Yeah, no, it leads to the morgue. That's where it goes. It goes. She had a kidney transplant. She was taking rejection medicine and now has stage 4 large B cell lymphoma. Okay. First of all, a diagnosis means they named it, so they got something um, to look at under the microscope, right? And what they're looking at is um, so lymphoma can be they're divided into Hodgkin's and non-Hodgkin's lymphomas. The non-Hodgkin's are a lot of them are a lot of times B cells, but they can be T cells. And they are, but there's a wide variety of them. And um, and what it means is these cells are chronically fermenting because something has happened to them. They've lost their mitochondria somehow, and we know that's how that happens. I mean, we know that's how CFCs happen. Um, so and then again, she believes in alternative. So again, the word belief. You only believe in things that are not true, like Santa Claus, Easter bunnies. Uh, I don't know, the USA. You believe in things that are not true, but you don't believe in things that are true. You don't believe in mountains. You don't believe in oceans. You don't believe. You either know about them or not. So that which is true, you know or you don't, and that which is not true, you believe or you not believe. Okay. So alternative medicine means what? What does alternative medicine mean? Well, that came about with JD Rocky and boys after the Flexner Report in 1910, 11, 10. They uh, they all natural methods of healing were uh, categorized as quackery, unsubstantiated. Um, and so now 80 years, 90 years later, 100 years later, if you're working in that arena at all, it's alternative to what? To the standard, to the conventional. And what is the conventional? They say it's science-based, but it's not science-based. It's called conventional because it's by convention, which means by agreement. It's by agreement. It's not medicine. The whole COVID thing was by agreement because there was no COVID. It was agreement. And non-medical people who fell for it, shouldn't have. You got to be more. Your body, your life, your family's life. You got to be a little more careful, right? And do your due diligence. If someone tells you something, hey, you better go jump off this building because there's a monster coming. Oh, no. But the doctors just no forgiveness, no forgiveness because you knew, you knew. And if you didn't know, then you put your license or get rid of your license. If you didn't know that it was impossible what they were talking about, you need a new job. All right. Anyway, so alternative is anything that's other than the no, than the convention. So it's not a matter of believing about. You either know about them or not. So, for example, vitamin C, ozone, curcumin, all of the botanical things. You don't believe in them; you just know, and there's incredible data on it. All right, and they work well. In fact, a lot of, if not most, drugs are synthetic derivatives of natural substances that they've uncovered that work that people have been using for centuries. All right, so you know that's what it has to be. So what can she do? Um, so she's in New York, right? Is that where it was? Yeah. Okay. So she's gone to New York to get free chemotherapy. Okay. So I hope you have to understand your choice that she's making. What they did is they gave it a name and told her that it's going to kill her. This thing that's in her is going to kill her, and the only way out is this. This is to poison it. And so that and it's free. What she can do is clean up her body immediately. Do a very, and it's like showtime. It's no, you're not going to slowly get into it. You're going to do a good, healthy juice cleanse for, 8 weeks. And maybe do some water fasting in there. Do your just really get healthy as quickly as possible. Learn to, learn to like 5 times a day for 2 minutes, 5 times a day. Quietly sit and listen to your breath because you need to learn to turn the mind off because otherwise the mind's, uh, pretty dangerous thing. Um, but then the vitamin C, there's a lot of things that need to that you could do. So you don't have to go necessarily right now to some alternative practitioner. So if you could join our groups, then you'll have access to a basic program, which is the other one is you got to get see a biological dentist. We talk about this every week and it never changes. And the reason it never changes is because the truth is, stands on its own authority. It's not, um, uh, it just doesn't change. It's not going to change. If you have a doctor or anyone who's changing their mind about whatever they're talking about, then they didn't know, and now they still don't know. You know? So the truth is pretty good. So it doesn't change. What do we have to do? If you've got if you're calling it a lymphoma or you got arthritis, what do you do? You got to get rid of the toxins. You got to detoxify because this is what is causing our problem. We get an accumulation of toxins or one big quick load of toxins in any way that disrupts everything, right? Or again, deficiencies or excesses and all that. So in this case, yeah, the rejection medicine definitely played a role, but there's many other parts to this too, right? And so, but you got to clean, uh, and you restore balance to your physiology, and it will work. And guess what happens too? If you really can do this, and your mind, you get your mind, uh, uh, well, you've got to get out of the language, the Rockefeller language. You might think that this I'm like over, what's the word? I don't know. I'm like I'm overemphasizing something. No, no, this it's everything. And in fact, if the mind, if the mind doesn't get calmed and turned off, right? If you don't learn how to turn off the mind, if you don't learn how to turn off the mind, you can't survive this unless you have something called faith. And faith is when you know what's going to happen before it happens. It's not has to do with nothing to do with a spiritual thing. Has to do with knowing what's going to happen before it happens. And that's just because you were blessed with that moment to be able to tune into reality. Because time is um, not linear, right? It's not linear. Um, so you just tapped into what's going to happen. Oh wow, there it is. You got to know that. And so remember, the fear and the doubt and all that stuff is the most deadly of all poisons and toxins. And that's what has perfected with the Rockefeller family. And what they did was they passed it on into medical schools, and they have they call it the standard of care, but you and I know it's the standard of scare. And they're very good at it. They'll scare you to death. They'll scare you into poisoning yourself. They'll scare you into submitting to getting this thing cut off and that thing cut off, and they'll scare you into getting a shot of poison to prevent a problem that might happen. Probably going to happen. I mean, is there is there a, a more powerful form of sorcery? I don't know. I don't know what it is. So anyway, so she needs to really clean up, get her, vitamin C in, like we were talking about before, all the vitamins maxed out. Eat real food, and if you want to, I have a 3-part webinar. It's the human diet. It's going to be part 4 someday, uh, and as soon as I get people that want to hear it, I like if you guys want to hear it, I'll be happy to do it because part 4 is really important. But the first part that you watch them, and you find out about food. Okay, so you got to eat real food for humans, not for flies, not for dogs. All right, for humans. All right, and it's not an opinion. It's not an opinion. All right. Remember, an opinion is when you don't know. An opinion you don't know because you have an opinion. If you know, you know, right? So two plus two equals 4 is not an opinion, right? I know it's not an opinion. So everybody's got their opinion. Well, yeah, everybody's got an opinion. So yeah, but I want to know who knows it, who's got the truth. Anyway, so do all those things, and then you can selectively find practitioners who will give you what you need, like intravenous vitamin C. Intravenous vitamin C, if you think that's an alternative, unproven thing, it's not. Look it up in PubMed. There are thousands of articles, right? It's coming out of the alternative closet because it's now being, ever since what 2002, 2000 up to 2005, when um, the NIH did all those studies on showing the actual mechanisms of action of vitamin C. And now there's a lot of research. There's been clinical trials at the University of Kansas. It's not. It's even being used in ICUs for sepsis and things like that. So it's not. You can call it alternative, but anyway, once you're cleaned up and you're doing all that stuff, then you can say, well, okay, I need some intravenous vitamin C is one thing. Then I'm going to go get some help now. But until you're in that, you get in that condition because the IV vitamin C and ozone and all that is not going to restore your health and balance. That's something you can do. Only you can do it. And of course, chemo is not going to make you healthy. It's not going to restore balance. So realize that unless you get balanced and healthy and are able to heal, uh, then you're not able to heal. Right? It's not like an idea or everything. Okay. So but all those things I was talking about are important. And then there are things you can take. There's a lot. Then I can't just. It would take a long time to just do it all. I mean, you could take DCA, dichloroacetate, but you got to know how to take it. I mean, there's lots of things you can do. Low dose naltrexone, and there's lots of things you can do. But we need to have this systematic way of doing it. The first thing you do is you clean up, and that's like everything. It's almost all of it. And then this, change your language. Don't use this. There's don't say she has large B cell. There's no they made that up. It doesn't have that. Her body, she's got parts of her body that they're identifying as that. She's got maybe some enlarged lymph nodes, and when they look under the microscope, they see these large B cells. But that doesn't mean they're it. Those what she's seeing and they're looking at are the responses to something. We forget that these are adaptive responses. So we've got to do is eliminate the reasons why the body needs to adapt, and then it won't adapt, and there's no. So I hope that helped. Thank you. So Rebecca, how to stop using pharma drugs? I have rheumatoid arthritis suggestions on what can be taken. Currently on Enbrel, but would love to stop. Currently just started on a nicotine patch, use black seed oil and thuracomin. Curcumin? Okay. Thank you in advance to getting off the pharma train. Yes, Rebecca. So, okay, so rheumatoid arthritis. So when you think you have this thing called rheumatoid arthritis, there's no thing called rheumatoid arthritis. Just we've got to speak the right language. We've got to speak. There's no rheumatoid arthritis. What they're calling rheumatoid arthritis is usually Inflammation of the, the certain joints, the distal ones, smaller joints. It can even affect you up here, your, your gums and stuff. But again, it's arth, joint, and itis, inflammation, right? And so the reason they're calling it that is they'll do a blood test and they'll find that maybe you have your ANA is positive, rheumatoid factors positive. So they have some biomarkers like that. So then that it fits the criteria for the. So they named it something. And now that they named it something, they can look at the algorithm because all the weapons, right? Like you're talking about big pharma, they're looking at the weapons. And what are the weapons? They're anti-inflammatories. So guess what? Stop living your life in any way that will cause inflammation, and that means diet. One through 10 is diet. You got to Rebecca. You do the same thing. You do a 6 to 8 week water juice cleanse. I'd be let me if you have any pain, let me know because I doubt it. But you do that, and then you begin when you start eating again. You eat only real food, right? And you eat it within a 4 hour window, and you stop eating 5 hours before sleep. You'll have so much energy, and you're going to bed by 9 latest. You have so much energy that you'll want to move around with what they call exercise. It's not exercise, it's movement, it's being alive, and that's what you'll do, and you'll be yeah. So it'll all now if you in terms of taking things like I said before, remember the bosmeric, which is a combination of curcumin, boswellia, and ginger and pepperine. There's those, vitamin C are anti-inflammatories. There's a lot of them, but you do the same things. It doesn't matter if we're going to call it a lymphoma, we're going to call it a carcinoma, we're going to call it an arthritis, or here we have an autoimmune arthritis is what rheumatoid is, right? Is what they're saying, right? So somehow your immune system, designed by God, made a huge mistake and started attacking you. It was, they have us believing that, right? They have us believing that because God is such a poor designer, really. So the immune system's always doing things like that. It attacks the thyroid, so you get either Hashimoto's or you get Graves or all these. The immune system. It's all stupid, right? God really did a really poor job. It's a good thing he took a day off because he really blew it, right? He forgot to cook the food when we have to cook it, right? He gave us tomatoes instead of tomato sauce. And immune system attacks the person. We believe this, so they've got us engaging in blasphemy. That's what they've done. All right, and our new religion is science, and the priests are these witches and warlocks wearing the white coats in the House of Horrors. It's a satanic thing. I don't know how else to say it. There's no other way to say it. Man, there's no way. You can't make anything. There's nothing good about it. I know. I'm sure I've probably got a lot more enemies than I had when I started. Anyway, and the black seed oil is great. All these things are fantastic, but and you want to be getting enough oils. That's a big deal. And so you're going to do that. Not but less so with oils because oils, remember, are extracted, and you want to get the original source, the whole food, and that's seeds and nuts, right? And we do that with chia seeds. We do that with flax seeds. There's hemp seeds, but very important, pumpkin seeds. But the chia seed. There's a lot to this, but if you do it, if you're getting the right oils, you have a healthy diet, and all this, this won't exist. It won't. This situation won't exist. But if you're thinking you've got to get rid of something, you've got to cure then you're in that mythological place, and you can't win because by definition this can't go away because they're going to tell you by definition there's no cure. There's no cure. You got this thing and there's no cure, so we're going to just poison you for the next 40 years. Okay. All right. So this is Lana, parasites. We are a couple in our 40 who live in Sweden. We don't have any diseases, you're right, but bloating after food, low iron, and suspect parasites. In Sweden, we can find ivermectin, fenbendazole, mebendazole. But I heard in a TikTok video that you think we should add more like praziquantel. That I cannot find. Can you please share the detox step by step so we won't do any harm to ourselves, or do have that information somewhere? Many things. Okay, so Lena in Sweden, um, um, yeah, you don't have to take praziquantel. If you got ivermectin and fenbendazole, it's a really great start, or mebendazole, but either one. Um, I don't know. You can probably get niclosamide from Lithuania, niclosam.com. And you could add that one. And So bloating after food, low iron is suspected source. Also, bloating after food, low iron, um, uh, and low. Okay, so bloating after food and low iron. Um, One thing that clearly, you're in your 40s. You're right about the age where we stop making less. We start making less and less hydrochloric acid in our stomach. And if you're making less and less hydrochloric acid, then you're not going to completely digest your food well, number one. Number two, you're not going to be able to get the iron from the vegetables, okay, without the acid. The acid in your stomach is necessary to convert the form of iron that's in the vegetable called ferric, right, into ferrous, which we can absorb. So we can absorb ferrous, which is, uh, uh, you know, anyway, we can absorb ferrous, so you need that. And the other thing that will, so what I if you're getting bloated after eating, so 15 minutes before you eat, you take some hydrochloric acid. You can get capsules, almost anywhere. Pepsin hydrochloric acid, or uh, what's the other one called? Betaine hydrochloric acid. So those are ways of getting it. Take it 15 minutes before eating, so that when you eat, your stomach will be very acidic, which is very important. Then afterwards, you take a handful of digestive enzymes. You get some good digestive enzymes. The place I what I use is from a company called Transformation. And if you're eating plants, then you'll get one. They have many types of uh, enzymes, but the one for plant people that eat plants is called Digestzyme, ZYME. You just take a handful after your meal, and that will really together that really helps. Now the other thing that will help increase iron uptake will be the vitamin C, because vitamin C ascorbate does several things. Number one, if you did have acid in your stomach, but some of the food pass through without getting enough exposure to the acid, and it's still in the ferric form. When it gets to the small intestines, if you've got vitamin C, that'll make the conversion. So the vitamin C will turn it into ferrous, and you'll be able to absorb it. And the other thing the vitamin C does is it upregulates the body's production of the receptors that pick up iron. So pretty good. So you're doing that, so I think most of your with the problem you discuss here, that doesn't mean you shouldn't take uh, uh, antiparasitic meds, but yeah. But anyway, that's the idea with the ivermectin from Mendel is great. You can get that in Sweden. That's excellent. And you don't need, as I said, you don't need praziquantel. You can get niclosamide, or if you just have those two, that's a good start. I mean, yeah. Okay, so this is dawn. What time is it? Okay, so there's a question: how do we get blood work when we don't have a doctor? Uh, I can't remember, but if you join the groups, we've got all these resources. There's actually a place you can get any blood work you want done. I just I don't know it, but we got that, and we also have places you can get medicines without a doctor, you know. And the more you can avoid doctors, do it. This is Dawn CFC therapies, colorectal tumor and brain. Care clinic practitioner ordered B17 3 milligrams per 10 ml vial and can't get IV solution formula ratio. Please share. Dad doesn't have money for your clinic, but can't have surgery either. I'm paying for his ozone and frequency and fulvic enemas. The doctors are mad he won't take chemo. Right. Yeah. When they mad, you know what? They're they're mad because your dad doesn't want to poison himself. Well, you know, then good. I hope they stay mad. Anyway, um, the B17, 3 milligrams per 10 ml vial, and you can't get the IV solution. The thing about the B17 is it's just a straight IV push. But you got to do it very slowly. I would have a nurse do this. You know, not. You got to really do this right. But you don't need to hang it and drip it. You can. It's a straight IV push. Um, you know, slowly. Um, but if you wanted to put it in the drip form, you could put it into normal saline, 100 cc's, 50 cc's, and just drip it in. But okay, so that's that. And remember, that's not like Dawn. So I hope you were listening earlier. So all the stuff he's got to do, because with the biological dentist, the cleansing, all that stuff's just that's the beginning of the journey home, the beginning of the journey back to health. That's it. That's where it begins. And it's like uh, there's not another way. Health can be obtained in only one way. That's by living healthy. There's not another way. Can anyone tell me what another way to get healthy would be other than living healthy? There's no, isn't this it's not possible. And the goal is health, right? So, um, but so the fulvic enemas, all this, that's all good. But the juice cleanse and all, do the whole thing. And if you can join their CFC group, and then you'll get we've got the whole program for you, and lots of help, lots of support, and weekly, twice a week, we'll be having a interaction, a Zoom, private Zoom meeting with us all. And then you'll be on the Telegram group where we, 24 hours a day, we're all talking. So do that, Dawn. Okay, so what time is it? All right. So let's take some. Yeah, let's take some of these questions here on that are coming in. All right, so I don't know, where do I go? Niclosamide, 500 milligrams 3 times a day, usually. Niclosamide. Ivermectin, 12 milligrams 3 times a day. Where was that other one? Wait, where'd you go? It moves quickly. Ah, I can't see the other one. I think you said ivermectin. I mean, fenbendazole. It's 222 milligrams 3 times a day. So here's the question. So Shayna replying to Billy, what was Billy saying? Whoa. Yeah, this is how do I join? So Tanya, William, how do you join the groups? Just go to drlodi.com, the website, drlodi.com, and it'll be right there to show you how to join the groups. I'm not sure if it's right there or just scroll down a little bit, but it's right there, how to join the groups. And yeah, then we can talk, we talk every day, twice a week. That's fantastic. I mean, and I can interact. What is the right amount? Ivermectin. Right amount of ivermectin. We said 12 milligrams 3 times a day. Fenbendazole 222 3 times a day. But remember, you look at your liver function, and there's other things to be taken into account. But pretty much those are adequate doses. If a cavity is a wisdom tooth, would you fill it or pull it? I would keep all your teeth. There's no you don't just pull things. Keep all your teeth. All right. The loss of all teeth is called edentulous. If you're edentulous, you have no teeth, and this is an extreme disability. You can't eat, you can't talk, so that's kind of a problem. Um, but even worse than that, because when we bite down, that bite actually causes the blood flow up into our brain. It's part of the way how the blood flow. So there's a like 90% is what do you call it? Of people that have no teeth that have dementia. Yeah. So that was who was I just reading? That was okay. I'm sorry. I'll be reading it. That was Lynn with regards to your ivermectin and benzoyl and the cavity. Debbie's in the cavity with wisdom tooth. So you definitely get it restored. I mean, repaired the right way. You go to a biological dentist and they use biocompatible material. All right. So do that for sure. All right. And then okay. So then uh so Shane was replying to Billy Diaz. I don't think he can tell you because everyone is different and all of that would be hard on one's body. I'm not sure what Billy was saying, so I can't comment on that. I don't know. What is the best way to lower blood pressure? Okay, so the best way to lower blood pressure, believe it or not, is a fast because it'll be lowered very quickly. And you can do a juice cleanse. That's second best, but fast is like right away. Within 48 hours. But a good juice cleanse also is going to just lower it. So it comes down to eating. Remember, we dig our graves with our teeth with every bite we take, and the best meal you ever had is the one you didn't eat. And the road to health is paved with clean intestines. Anyway, where are we? Where was that question? These things are moving so quickly. Huh? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Where did that go? Anyway, so lowering blood pressure. So you'll see that by doing the juice cleanse and all that, you'll see that if you take the blood pressure medicine whatever you have, that your blood pressure will be too low because you don't need to lower it anymore. So that's pretty amazing. So then when you go back to eating, you finally finished your cleanse or your fast, and you go back to eating, then you're only going to eat human food. And if you only eat human food and you eat it once a day or a couple times a day, you stop eating 5 hours before sleep, it'll be gone. It'll be gone. It'll be gone. That's the truth. The Rocky and the gangs, when they classify hypertension, right? 90% of hypertension is what they call essential hypertension. I love that word, which means they don't know why you have it. There's a few percent that have, we know you've got if your kidneys kinked, or there are reasons why it would be happening other than they don't know. But most of them, they don't know, and they don't investigate, and they don't care because once you name a disease, you give it you name it, it becomes a disease. It's in the diagnostic and statistic manual, whatever, or the ICD, whatever manual they have, where they have all of it. Once it's in there, now it doesn't matter why, because you don't need. It doesn't matter. You named it. You diagnosed. You've been diagnosed. What are you talking about? You've been diagnosed means what? Means we've stopped the inquiry. Inquiry's over. We got a name on it. We're going to war. That's it. And this is not hyperbole. This is exactly the way it is. Tell me it's not. Tell me it's not that way. Tell me they get a name and that's it. We're done. But shouldn't we check? No, you got this. All right. And as it turns out, uh, all of these adaptive responses so get rid of the disease. There's no disease. So it's almost impossible. So So that's the best way to lower blood pressure. And then in terms of drinking lots of green juices, because remember, green means it's got chlorophyll. Chlorophyll means it's got magnesium. Magnesium is a very powerful uh, way to lower your blood pressure. You know, in the clinic, if someone were to come in with a high blood pressure, like you know, too high, like 180 over 120 or what, we needed to lower it quickly. We just give a IV drip of magnesium. You don't have to give a drug. It goes right down. No. So taking magnesium will help. Garlic will help. There's lots of botanical things you can take in addition, but nothing is better than eating right and in right intervals. So eating right is not just what you eat; it's the frequency and the volume. Uh, Hello from Australia, have have got giardia. I take black walnut, wormwood, and ivermectin. Still got giardia. Well, I mean, you haven't taken any any of the anti-protozoal medications? You know, um, have you? This is Kelly, right? Kelly. I'm sorry, Kelly. Yeah, yeah. So those are good. If it's listen, the black walnut, all those are good. You've got to take them in you kind of the right order and the right amounts and all that. But in this case, if you're sure you've got giardia, then there's there's metronidazole, tinidazole, and nitazoxanide. Those are three antiprotozoals. So that'll, you know, they work. They work. Um, and if you can get a hold of those in Australia, I know that I know some people in Australia, and I think they're able to get these things. Not sure how they get them, uh, but and there are some integrative doctors there as well. So, but if you've already got like ivermectin, then you should be able to get these because these are not on the they didn't get blacklisted like ivermectin did. They're not like on the where people raise their eyebrows when you ask for it. There's not that kind of stuff. Oh, good, you put that up, Kelly. Excellent, thank you. Um, all right, so that's Kelly. So Lynn, we already had that. What is the right amount of ivermectin, fenbendazole? We just mentioned that, right? 12 milligrams 3 times a day, ivermectin, fenbendazole 222 3 times a day. But remember, it's 3 weeks on, through the 1 week off, and and you've got to have your liver checked and all that. So, and this is Kelly. Uh, Wondering if you have heard anyone getting a blood transfusion that's unvaxxed getting COVID or mRNA from the blood transfusion. No, I haven't heard that. Of course, it's absolutely possible. And so, anyway, since there's really no COVID, that wouldn't happen. But the mRNA stuff, yeah, that's definitely the work of the what are you going to call them? The genocidal maniacs. Yeah, it's the work of the genocidal maniacs. So definitely, so that's it. But not so it's very possible. So I know that there are in some areas, some states, that they're trying to develop blood banks where they can um, uh, get people that didn't get injected with the bioweapon. However, from lots of different types of sources, it's seeming that these mRNA genetically modifying uh, weapons are being dispersed to humanity in different ways other than injections now, like in food, chemtrails. dental anesthetics, you know. So anyway, in case you don't know, and I hope you do, but in case you don't know, we're at war. It's an undeclared war, um, and unfortunately, most of us don't know it, and we need to know it, um, uh, just so you can protect yourself. Um, all right, but yeah, so the answer is I don't know specifically someone who's had that problem, but it's what I would consider if I were having facing uh, 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 perhaps getting a blood transfusion. Um, and I now I think there's been so many people in the world. I wonder if you could. There is even a. It's possible to not get exposed to that now. That mRNA. I don't know. But if remember, you don't necessarily need a blood transfusion whenever they. Um, you've got to find out why you need what you need. Are you bleeding? Has your bone marrow been poisoned by chemotherapy or radiation, so that you're not producing red blood cells? Or are you malnourished? You're not producing them. So there are things you have to look at so you can stop the loss or stop the anemia, right? And then you want to increase you want to stimulate your production, and there's ways of doing that. And there's a drug called erythropoietin, which is really a hormone that our kidneys normally produce that stimulate the bone marrow to make red blood cells. And they use this for people with kidney failure and also people that have had chemo. Um, and it's a nice way to do it. So if you're getting iron in your food, you don't want to take iron supplements or IV iron or anything like that, but you want to be getting it in your food, and that's by having if you're eating plants, you want to have acid in your stomach, and and vitamin C and all that, and eat a lot of the plants that are gonna that they most of the ingredients have iron. Some have more. Um, But you wanna be getting that, and you wanna be make sure you're getting the foods that have the B vitamins, or you can take B vitamins because you need the B vitamins as well if we're making hemoglobin. Um, and, um, and also the green anything green that was just got chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the exact same molecule as hemoglobin, except it's got a magnesium instead of an iron in it, right? So that's gonna be helpful. And then, and again, it's like if you're bleeding, you got to stop that. So you got to find out what's going on. However, in most cases, it's that I run into it's due to you know poison bone marrow by chemotherapy. And again, erythropoietin, they call it Epigen. They also call it Procrit. There's other brand names, but uh, it's a hormone that we normally make. Oh, Billy Diaz, you mentioned that protocol and the previous with all 6 times that I listed. I tried to connect with your Mesa office. I'm in Scottsdale, but was unsuccessful. Unsuccessful. Uh, well, it's 210 North Center Street. Um, let's check something out here. Uh, I don't know how you tried to connect. They definitely answer the phones. Um, come on. Here, let me get the phone number for you. You were calling the right. Okay, so 480-912-3414. 480-912-3414. Is that the number you call? It used to be, I don't know why they changed the number, but anyway, yeah. So, so what was your question was, your question was what, please, um, what was your question again? It was, something I had said 6 times? Oh, I forget. It's moved away now. But anyway, call that number. You should be able to get a hold of them at the clinic. I don't know why they wouldn't answer. Okay, wait. If diabetes, where was that? God. Oh, this is Joseph. Is diabetes caused by pancreatic fluke worms? And will ivermectin and fenbendazole kill them? Well, no, no, that's not the way it happens. Again, see that again, it's the Rockefeller disease thing. There's a thing that's going to cause it. So diabetes type 2, which accounts for most of the diabetes, is an eating disorder. You're eating cooked carbs, yeah, and processed carbs. It's an eating disorder. You're just not, it's just you change the eating in there. It doesn't exist. Remember, it's an adaptive response to too much glucose. The other one, type 1, where your pancreas is no longer making enough insulin, is actually related to dairy, milk. But nonetheless, you're not making it, so that one has to be. You have to deal with that with insulin. You do need insulin with that one, but that's a different story. But could parasites be involved? They could be involved in almost anything that's going on with us. That's so yes, but not the cause. Okay, so this is Ronnie. What are your thoughts on B17? All right, so B17, amygdalin, is it's found in well, it used to be before we had so many hybrid plants, right? Now most things are hybrid. Like we've got bananas this big. So anyway, but prior to all that, let's say 120 years ago, um, almost all plants and seeds had amygdalin, right? And uh, but we know it's in apricot seeds, and where we actually became aware of it is with the hunzas, because the hunzas have apricot trees, and they eat this all. They're ingesting this all their whole life, and they've got lots of amygdalin. And so what amygdalin does is it's four molecules, two glucose, one benzaldehyde, and one hydrogen cyanide. And so there's an enzyme called glucosidase um, that CFCs have in abundance. Abundance, we just have a little bit, but they have a lot because they need glucose. So that glucosidase grabs the glucose off that molecule, right? There's two glucoses, and when it does, it frees up the benzaldehyde and the cyanide. So we also have another enzyme called rhodinase, and rhodinase. The job of rhodinase is to put a sulfur group on the a sulfhydryl group on the cyanide and turn it into uh, a form that's no longer toxic. It neutralizes it, and so that's pretty nice. So healthy cells have a little bit of glucosidase and much more rhodinase. So if they run into amygdalin and they happen to uh, take off the glucose, it'll quickly be neutralized. There's no problem. Whereas CFCs have the opposite. They have an excess of the glucosidase, and so when they wind up getting poisoned, and it's the CFCs that get poisoned because they're the ones that have um, uh, that ratio of those enzymes. Healthy cells won't have that ratio. So intravenously, you can give really high doses, um, 9 grams, 10 grams, 15 grams. It's a lot IV, and it's only going to have uh, there's only going to be cyanide in the area where the tumors are, nowhere else. However, taking it orally can be dangerous because um, many of the bacteria and other microorganisms in our gut have the same enzyme um, proportions as CFCs. And so, what can happen if you're taking it orally is you can wind up getting poisoned by cyanide and die. So, orally, it can be uh, fatal. IV, no, because it's only going to happen in the tumors. So, you've got to be very careful when you're taking it orally. And one of the problems is when people get the apricot kernels and they're eating, like they eat like a handful a day or twice a day. The problem is that there's not an exact same amount in every kernel. So one day that half a handful might have had a much higher concentration than it does on another day. So one day you get sick. But you'll know when you're getting too much of it because you'll start to feel nauseous, and that it doesn't just go from not affecting you to killing you. There's a period in there where you feel terrible, and because you're getting cyanide poison. So anyway, um, that's what I think. So in terms of how does it work and all that, so you didn't usually what we would do is we load people. You get the like 21 days of IV, and then transition to the oral, and the oral is maintenance. And the oral because you can't take as much anyway orally. So you could do so that's why with this getting the there's a company, I think it's called Amygdalina. It's Mexico, and that's where the original uh, it was made. So it's a good old product, and they have 500 milligram tablets, so you know exactly how much it is. It's not like the apricot kernels, which could have varying amounts of of the amygdalin. Um, so the 500 milligram, you take one at night before bed. Everything's okay. Then you can add one in the morning if you're not feeling bad or anything like that. Then you could maybe add another one in the afternoon, again at night, and then maybe another one in the morning. So you got to go up until you're not feeling good. Then you back down a little bit. You can find out how much you can take. So it's good, but remember, not a standalone thing. It's helpful, but yeah, there's three parts to healing from cancer. One is stop making it, like changing everything we've talked about. I mean, from you know proper food, diet, sleep, meditation, all that, balancing hormones, all that. And then the second part is targeting and eliminating the CFCs that are there without causing harm to your healthy cells. That's a good idea. And the third part is waking up the immune system. So don't get stuck on any one part of it. We need to do it all. And a big part of that is the mind, like number one. Um, what did you say? Okay, this is Debbie. What did you say is in dental anesthetic? Novocaine too. Yes, all the dental anesthetics now have um, the mRNA to make spike protein. Yeah. Whatever they do, who knows what they do, what it does. I mean, a lot of controversy there, but there's one thing sure, um, they've done this. So it's in all dental anesthetics, and the dentists know that, even the biological dentists, and they're really freaking out because it's really hard to do most dental procedures without an anesthetic. If you have, probably any of the, uh, if your dentist has, bought a lot like before 2020 or 2021, um, then it would be okay. So I don't know how we're going to come up with this. I don't know. I mean, I know we're going to solve that somehow, but there's a lot. I know a lot of dentists around, even in Europe, they're trying to solve this problem. Because okay, this is Harmony. Does cryotherapy help? Sure, in the right hands, in the right situation. So just like with any therapy, the doctor or other whatever practitioner who's uh, you know doing the procedure, administering the procedure, make sure that find out, say, how often do you do this? And so you want somebody who does this every day, several times a day, right? You don't want someone who's, and I don't, even if there's the famous radiologist, but they're famous for something else, but they don't do that particular procedure, then you don't want them. Okay, so with any procedure, make sure the person that you've chosen to work with does that procedure all the time, and they're good at it. All right, and that's it. Even because if you were good at something and you haven't done it in a while, you're not going to be no longer be as skillful. It's just it. So cryotherapy, it does work, and you've got to, in what situations does it work? Um, it's a much um, uh, in the right hands. It's excellent because you're not causing uh, it's not like radio frequency ablation. So radio frequency ablation, where you're using radio frequencies um, to eliminate a tumor. Um, it's got scatter, and it's gonna affect adjacent tissues and cause problems. But I mean, it's still good. RFA is good. I mean, and a lot of times, people have had a few uh, lesions in their liver, and if it's small, let's say if it's under 3 centimeters or 2.5 centimeters, then you can do RFA and just zap them. So it's nice, but and there's usually no, if it's done correctly, there's usually no you know problem from it. But the cryotherapy, the reason that's good is that it's not radiation. It's just freezing. So it's pretty good. And it's not, they can do it with tumors in the esophagus, the liver. There's a lot of lungs. But you have to get someone who really knows what they're doing. And the doctors that do that are called interventional radiologists. All right. So a radiologist can be a diagnostician, diagnostic radiologist, who's good at CTs and MRIs and all that sort of thing, ultrasounds. And then there's the interventional ones who do procedures, radiological procedures. And that would be one. Huh. Whoa, whoa, where the protocol? Paula is saying that. I made a couple of this is Billy again. I made a couple of phone calls, and I finally got through to somebody, and they said they'd call me back, but somebody was graduating. I don't know if you're talking about an Oasis of Healing still, but that's strange. I hope you got the right number, but yeah, call them because I don't think I can't imagine them not getting back to you. So try it again. It sounds crazy. Um, all right, so decline the heart. Okay. I, okay, so where are we? So do you think? But this is Tanya. Do you think these where to go? Wow, just where did it go? Oh, here. Do you think these Tesla technologies work like the Chi coil and Spooky 2 device? Tesla technology. You mean what do you mean? Not sure what you mean. Tesla technology. I'm not sure what you mean. Um, all right. Okay, so here's Harmony. What about getting your blood cleaned? Yeah. There's some doctors are having these in their office now. It's um, double filtration plasmapheresis, DFPP, because people love acronyms. There's a good one, DFPP, double filtration plasmapheresis. They're really, really fine filters, and basically it's almost like dialysis. It goes, comes out one and it goes back into the other side, and it's excellent because it. I mean, in a lot of situations, it's really, really helpful. But uh, and if someone has got CFCs, spike protein, all that stuff, or whatever's junk's in there, a lot of stringy clot stuff in our bloods, it cleans that out. But uh, people with CFCs wind up getting uh, there's these proteins in their blood that actually are immunosuppressive. They turn off the immune system, um, and your doctor can discover that by doing a SPET, serum protein electrophoresis. It's a test where they can look at it, and they'll see the different. you know, they have these bell curves of the different types of proteins the blood's producing, and they can see it. They'll be able to see that, and then you get the double filtration plasmapheresis, and it cleans it up. So it's a great it's a great thing to do. It used to be that they didn't have these kind of portable machines, and you had to go to the hospital, and they're not going to do it because um, it's not really um, is they just it was very hard to get that done because it's helpful. Remember that's not their goal. Ah, so this is Hans Frank, go carnivore, Dr. Anthony Chaffee, go carnivore. What is that? Who's Dr. Anthony Chaffee? Was that the guy that said, "No, I haven't eaten a vegetable in 6 years"? Is that him, Anthony Chaffee? Uh, uh, where was that? Where is that? Uh, uh, yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, let me know. It's about that. So here's one. This is Lorraine. I have an ileostomy that is very I have an ileostomy that is very active when I have a movement. It moves internally. Having major issues with keeping a flange on now due to this. I heard there is a possibility of getting a new intestine. Is this true? I've had this for just under 50 years. Got it due to Crohn's. Whoa. Okay, so 50 years you've had an ileostomy. All right. So just for everybody's, make sure everyone understands what she's talking about. She's got, there's the small intestines, is the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. The ileum is the last part that leads into the colon. Um, and so an ileostomy means there's a, they went through the abdominal wall, um, and there's an opening in the ileum for things to come out. Um, and that means it's not going. When you're instead of having a bowel movement, it doesn't go all the way down to the colon. It's in the ileum, and you had that because of Crohn's, right? And Crohn's is um, one of the names that they put on dysbiosis. They also call dysbiosis SIBO. They call it ulcerative colitis. They call it irritable bowel syndrome. They have all kinds of names, and we're supposed to believe that there's different diseases called irritable bowel syndrome. You can get it, and you can get Crohn's and all that stuff. And there's none of that's true. It's just varying degrees of dysbiosis. And a dysbiosis comes from what? From not eating right food. So because whatever you're eating is what your microbiota are eating, right? So whatever is going to now what food would make a healthy microbiota? That's what we should be looking at. And if we ate that, then we wouldn't have a dysbiosis. So you've got to so first of all, you should clean that out. You've had it 50 years. That means that you probably, all the bowel distal to that, meaning the colon, is probably very atrophied by now. I don't even know if it could be revived, but there's no reason why you should still have that in, and you should still be dealing with this monster called Crohn's, because you got to, this you can be restored to health. But I don't know about what's 50 years, a long time to have an ileostomy. I don't think I've ever seen that. Wow. So, uh, wow. Uh, I hear leaving soapy residue on dishes is carcinogenic. Is that true? Well, not if the soap depends on what soap. It's a good reason to use, you know, there are soaps that are not toxic and that are ecologically sound as well. There's a lot of them, and you can get them probably at the, you know, at any food place like Sprouts or Whole. What used to be Whole Foods, now it's what's his name? What's the guy? It's part of Amazon. I mean, but if you go to any kind of market like that, you can get good healthy soap. So um, that's the only way that would be true. So if you had a substance on your dishes, then yeah, it's a problem. Um, so this is Amber. Can a dryer vent full of birds' nests cause parasite infection? Yeah, birds definitely have lots of different parasites. But what do you mean, a dryer vent for your in your house? Yeah, I would. You gotta get that cleaned out for sure. Yeah, I mean, because yeah, birds have parasites for sure. Uh, all right, you guys, it's 9:05, isn't it? Something like that. Yeah. So we're done. Well, let me just. Does he even read through YouTube? No, where is the YouTube chat? I'm sorry. Well, if you're on YouTube, then you're showing up here. That's why I'm seeing it. So, uh, yeah, I think all the chats come, like Facebook comes through here because this is restreamed. So I think that's YouTube, and I'm reading you. So yeah, and you're at phrasey 681. Paula. Uh, I'm very concerned. This is Paula. I'm very concerned about two people in love. One is my what? One is my brother, and the other is my aunt. Your brother and your aunt. They're in love. Well, I'm not sure what to say about that. Um, I think if you're concerned, you should talk to them. You know, so I mean, that's usually the answer for, when you have problems with somebody, you're concerned about them, or whatever, is to try to communicate, try to open up, and at least understand what you need to understand them, and or maybe, or I don't know. I don't know your situation at all, so I can't really comment on that. But I would suggest you talk to them. Absolutely. Uh, there's Michael said it right. Fix the gut, fix everything. That's it. Because fixing the gut means you have to fix it yourself because your gut issue. So that's the great thing. So if we're eating healthy, it's making the parasite stronger too. No, because they don't necessarily they're not in there looking for kale. They don't want kale, and they like us. We are dinner. Anyway, that's it. I'll see you all next week, and um, and go to drlodi.com, join the groups, and so we can talk tomorrow because we'll be on tomorrow at the same time that we started tonight. All right. Swaddy Cup.